Why do newly purchased orchids look so beautiful, but lose vitality after only a few weeks? In this video, I will share the entire orchid care process. From repotting at the right time, choosing the right growing medium, to using the correct fertilizers. This will help the plant recover quickly, develop strong roots, and regain its vitality as when it was first purchased. These orchids were previously grown in a greenhouse, in a completely controlled environment. When brought outdoors, you can immediately see the difference. The plants withered, their leaves faded and fell off, and their vitality decreased rapidly. First, I removed all the damaged, withered, and fallen leaves. These parts had to be disposed of far away from the garden to prevent the spread of disease. Then, I removed all the old growing medium. This type of growing medium is only suitable for greenhouses, where the amount of water and humidity can be precisely controlled. When we bring the plants out into the natural environment, with high humidity and unpredictable rain and sunshine, this type of medium will retain water for too long, causing the roots to rot completely. Remove all the old growing medium and thoroughly clean the area to cut off the source of the disease. Look here, the roots are severely damaged. If we don't intervene promptly, the fungus will quickly spread and eat away at the entire root system, and the plant will certainly be beyond saving. Next, I will proceed with the steps to restore the orchid, and I will share the details so you can apply them correctly to your own orchid garden. Next, I prepared a pair of pruning shears. I began trimming the damaged, rotten, and soft roots, leaving only the healthy, firm, and vibrant ones. I cut decisively and neatly, making sure not to miss any damaged parts, as these are breeding grounds for fungi and bacteria if neglected. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons to support me and so you don't miss any orchid care tips. It's great to have you as a companion on this journey. After trimming all the damaged roots, the orchid was completely cleaned, lighter, and ready for the next recovery phase. Next, I took the orchid out and thoroughly cleaned it with clean water. This step seems simple, but for me, it's mandatory and cannot be skipped. I rinsed it to wash away any remaining dirt and fungal diseases on the roots and stem, ensuring the plant was truly clean before moving on to the next stage of care. Once the plant was cleaned, I let it air dry naturally. After that, I began the next steps of treatment and restoration so that the orchid could revive and grow steadily again. Next, I took out a clean container. In this step, I used baking soda, a very familiar ingredient but one with good antibacterial and antifungal properties, helping the orchid recover more effectively. I measured out exactly 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Then, I dissolved this teaspoon of baking soda in 1 liter of clean water. This solution will help inhibit any remaining fungal diseases, clean the root and stem surfaces, and create a safe environment for the orchid to begin the recovery and growth process. Next, I took the orchid outside and prepared a soft cotton ball. I gently dipped the cotton ball into the baking soda solution I had just prepared. I gently wiped each leaf of the orchid. The top surface was cleaned of accumulated dust and dirt, while the underside was treated to remove mold and bacteria that are often invisible to the naked eye. After wiping all the leaves and stem, I placed the plant outside to dry naturally. Next, I prepared a clean container and placed an entire orchid root system inside. Then, I poured the prepared baking soda solution into the container, ensuring the roots were completely submerged. I left the orchid roots soaking in the baking soda solution for about 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I removed the orchid from the soaking container. By this time, the baking soda solution had taken effect, providing noticeable antibacterial and antifungal properties. Using my hands and a soft cotton swab, I gently wiped each root. The purpose was to remove any remaining dirt and mold, ensuring the roots were completely clean and more breathable. Next, I took the orchid outside and retrieved the jar of pure cinnamon powder I had prepared. Cinnamon powder is not only a familiar spice in the kitchen, but for me, it's also a very effective natural disinfectant for orchids. I lightly sprinkled the cinnamon powder on all the cuts and wounds on the plant, especially on the roots and base. The purpose is to disinfect, prevent fungal diseases from entering, and help the wounds dry and heal quickly. After disinfecting, I placed the orchid in a well-ventilated area, without watering immediately, to let it rest and wait for the wounds to dry completely. Next, only after observing that the wounds on the orchid had completely dried and healed did I begin planting it. This is a crucial step. Rushing while the cuts are still wet greatly increases the risk of root rot and fungal infection. I used a pot with drainage holes to ensure good water drainage, keeping the roots dry and allowing for easy respiration. The growing medium I used was shredded pine bark, which I had previously treated and disinfected to remove mold, so I felt completely safe planting it. When planting, I first placed a layer of coarse pine bark at the bottom of the pot, then positioned the orchid correctly, adjusting it so it stood naturally without tilting. Next, I gradually added shredded pine bark around the base of the plant, gently tapping the sides of the pot as I went to ensure the bark sealed the root gaps. Doing it gently like this helps the orchid roots anchored firmly, preventing damage, keeping the plant stable while maintaining good aeration. This is the foundation for the orchid's rapid recovery and healthy growth later on. Next, I take out the moss and place it on the rim of the pot. This layer of moss isn't too thick, just enough to retain moisture and welcome new roots, providing a favorable environment for the orchid's roots to spread, cling to the pot, and grow vigorously. At this point, I've completely planted an orchid. But I don't water it immediately after planting. I place the plant in the garden, in a shady, well-ventilated spot, protected from rain and harsh sunlight. After about a day, when the roots had settled and adapted to the new growing medium, I began watering and caring for it again. Next, I took out a clean container. I use breadcrumbs as a very familiar yet extremely effective natural fertilizer. I take about 3 tablespoons of breadcrumbs and put them in a container. When soaked, the breadcrumbs will ferment slightly, creating a source of natural microorganisms that improve the root environment, helping the orchids absorb nutrients better and recover faster. Next, we add sugar, a very important ingredient. Here, I use about half a teaspoon, equivalent to half a teaspoon, added directly to the prepared breadcrumb mixture. Then, I add about 500 milliliters of clean filtered water and stir. Well, until the sugar is completely dissolved and the breadcrumbs are soaked. Once the mixture is well combined, I cover it tightly and let it sit for 24 hours. After a day, I opened the lid to check and found that the breadcrumbs had lightly fermented, and the nutrients had completely absorbed and dissolved into the water. At this point, I took out a container, filtered out all the sediment, and kept only the clear liquid. This was the natural nutrient solution, ready for me to use to care for the orchids in my garden, helping them become healthier, with stronger roots, and noticeably reviving day by day. One day after planting the orchid in the pot, I checked and found that the roots were stable and firmly anchored in the growing medium. This was a great time to start providing gentle care. I took a spray bottle and filled it with the prepared natural nutrient solution. First, I sprayed the top of the orchid leaves. This foliar fertilization method helps the plant absorb nutrients quickly and keeps the leaves clean of dust and dirt. When I turned the leaves over, the solution also helped clean any mold hidden inside. The stomata opened, and the plant began to absorb nutrients more effectively. Next, I watered the orchid directly at the base. I use a small cup, gently pouring water onto the roots and the growing medium, just enough to ensure the medium reaches the necessary moisture level. The orchid roots then begin to absorb water, pumping nutrients from below, helping the plant recover and grow more steadily. After watering, I soaked the pot for about 20 minutes, then removed the orchid and let it dry naturally. With this care method, I fertilize the plant once every 2 weeks. On regular days, I only water and mist with clean water about every 3 days to maintain sufficient moisture. Finally, I place the plant in a shady, well-ventilated area with gentle light in the garden so that it can photosynthesize and grow naturally. After 3 weeks, my orchid had truly revived and matured. As you can clearly see, the leaves are clean, thick, sturdy, glossy, and have a beautiful green sheen, a sign that the plant is healthy from the inside out, not just on the outside. I then checked the roots, and this made me very happy. The roots had grown strong. Many new roots had emerged and the old roots had stabilized, proving that the plant was absorbing nutrients well and standing on its own again. Looking at the entire plant, from leaves to roots, I could clearly see the daily changes. This is the result of persistent, proper care, and most importantly, the dedication and love I put into the orchid. Following this step, I continued to apply a natural fertilizer regimen. Next, I continued making natural fertilizer for my orchids using my familiar recipe, breadcrumbs mixed with sugar. I filtered out all the sediment, keeping only the clear liquid. This way I obtained nutrient-rich water from lightly fermented breadcrumbs, which is very gentle and safe for orchids. Next, I took the orchid out for care. I took a spray bottle, filled it with a prepared nutrient solution, and began gently misting it. I sprayed evenly on both the top and bottom surfaces of the leaves, allowing the nutrients to penetrate the cell walls, making the leaves cleaner, healthier, and more absorbent. Then, I lightly watered the base and roots, just enough to keep them moist, not over. Afterward, I covered the roots again to keep the plant stable. During this period, I returned the plant to its original location in the garden, a shady, well-ventilated spot with gentle sunlight, so the orchid could continue to grow naturally and sustainably. After 45 days, the orchid showed remarkable growth and recovery, proving that the care and nutrients we applied were completely effective. The orchid leaves were now dark green, glossy, clean, thick, and sturdy. New red shoots continued to sprout and develop vigorously, bringing the plant back to its original healthy state. Seeing the entire orchid trellis covered in lush green, I knew the plant had absorbed the fertilizer and had truly revived. I then checked the root system, and this was what reassured me most. The orchid roots had spread profusely, covering the rim of the pot, many of them mature, strong, and firmly anchored. This was a clear sign that the plant was stabilizing and developing sustainably. With orchids, with just patience, love, and a little dedication, the plant will reward you handsomely. Leaves covering the garden, strong roots, a healthy plant, and when strong enough, it will produce long-lasting, evenly blooming flowers year-round. Therefore, I continued to maintain this care method, using natural fertilizers right in my kitchen, which are both safe and effective, to keep my orchids healthy and producing beautiful flowers. What do you think of this orchid care method? Don't hesitate to leave a comment and share your thoughts. I really want to hear your feedback and experiences. Every share from you is a valuable source of motivation that helps us learn and love plants more each day.